This is Community Close-Up with Jay Dow.
They want that Range Rover, so their only other option is to go in the house and get it.
Suburban vehicle thefts right from your driveway. We're riding with an auto theft task force in Bergen County, New Jersey. What every homeowner needs to know. Also ahead, in many neighborhoods, you can now buy cannabis and candy on the same block. How a new after-school curriculum in the Bronx opens the door to tough conversations with our kids about weed. And in honor of Veterans Week, our first installment of the new Pix 11 News series, Our Community, Your Voice. A look at an investment banking firm's innovative mentoring program that takes soldiers from the battlefield to a career in finance. Hi everyone, I'm Jay Dow and welcome to Community Close-Up. Thanks for joining us. We're committed to focusing on the important issues that matter to you, regardless of your family budget or zip code. We're starting off with the effort to reduce residential auto thefts, which are now being linked to a rise in home burglaries. We recently spent an eye-opening night in the suburbs with the Paramus Police Department's Auto Theft Task Force in Bergen County, New Jersey.
My husband went to go to the gym in the morning and the car wasn't in the driveway.
Joan, we won't say what Bergen County, New Jersey town she lives in for privacy reasons, recalling the burglary and auto theft that shattered her sense of security.
Your key fob wasn't sitting in the cup holder of your vehicle.
No, it was not. It was inside the mudroom in my house.
Suspects, sometimes as young as 15 years old, are now attempting to and often successfully burglarizing homes across the Garden State. They're not looking for jewelry or high-end electronics, but simply want one thing, the key fob that may be sitting in the bowl.
31, show me respond.
We recently spent an evening in Paramus, Bergen County, New Jersey with Police Sergeant Anthony Mordaga. He leads the department's auto theft task force and tells us the last few years of public messaging has worked, warning residents to not leave their vehicles unlocked with the key fobs in the cup holder. But he adds what happened to Joan.
The big problem we're running into is the residential burglaries. If they're going to walk up to, a Range Rover in the driveway and they're pulling on the door handle, if the door opens but the car doesn't start, they want that Range Rover.
According to the New Jersey State Police, there were nearly 1,000 residential auto thefts last year in Bergen County alone. As of the end of August, the numbers are down 13%. Paramus PD and other law enforcement agencies attribute the lower numbers to stepped-up neighborhood patrols and the significantly increased deployment of high-tech license plate readers.
The plates look like they're assigned to the VIN number to that car.
Short of installing concrete motorized bollards on a property, Sergeant Mordaga says law enforcement desperately needs residents to be more careful.
People are being followed by these crews.
Joan and her family fortunately survived a home burglary immediately followed by a vehicle theft from their driveway without anyone getting hurt, and then immediately committed to beefing up security on their property.
But unfortunately, this is what's happening nowadays.
A traumatic lesson they learned the hard way. Joining me now is Chief Robert Guidetti of the Paramus Police Department. Chief, thanks for taking the time to join us. And we also have Sergeant Anthony Mordaga. First off, I want to say that it's pretty clear from that night that we spent, Sergeant Mordaga loves his job. So thank you for allowing us to ride with you. And Chief, thank you for giving us the green light to ride with him that night. The first thing I want to talk about is how things have evolved. Your department is constantly trying to keep up with new tactics, things that weren't happening a year ago.
Jay, thank you very much for having me. And yes, you're correct. Things that weren't happening a year ago was these type of thefts. They keep getting worse and worse and worse, coming into our residential areas, targeting our high-end vehicles. So what did we have to do? We needed to put more officers on the street. We put more officers on the street, especially at nighttime when these vehicles were being stolen.
Something that I noticed is Sergeant Mordaga was patrolling down side streets, down dead-end streets, the usual route that you wouldn't expect, because he told us that, these thieves are cruising down the quiet streets. Sometimes they're dimly lit, knowing there's going to be less foot traffic there.
Yes, we consider it, and we call it shopping. They're shopping for a high-end car. So they're going up and down the streets looking until they come across one of the cars that they want to target.
Something that caught my attention, Sergeant Mordaga mentioned rabbit ears.
that thieves are really paying attention to whether or not your mirrors are folded in. What does that mean?
On a lot of the high-end cars, there's a thing called auto fold. So when your car is locked, they automatically fold in. So if they drive by a car and they see that it's auto folded in, there's a good chance that car's locked, and they'll pass it up to get another car. Unless they really want that car, then they're going to look further.
Let's talk about some tips, because at the end of the day, people want to make sure that when they wake up in the morning, their vehicles are in the driveway. So obviously, let's get past the obvious. Lock your door, make sure your key fob is not in the cup holder, bring the key fob into the house. But you're noticing that people are breaking into homes?
Jay, we ran that whole campaign with everyone else. The entire state of New Jersey ran the campaign. Lock your door, take your key fob, bring it into the house. Well, these gangs, they upped their game. They started going in, checking the front doors, the back doors, the side doors, and the windows of the houses to see if they can get the key fob in the house. When we told people hide the key in the house, because usually it's kept somewhere in the open because you buy a door when you want to leave, they started hiding the keys. Now, these groups go in and they use crowbars, screwdrivers to break into the houses.
So should we avoid keeping the key fob in the bowl next to the door?
Good point.
Robert Guidetti, thank you so much.
Jay, thank you very much.
And Sergeant Mordaga, thank you so much for allowing us to ride with you. Coming up, another important conversation, and it's a tough one for so many parents. We're talking about cannabis and our kids. We're checking out an innovative after-school curriculum in the Bronx, which is doing just that. We'll be right back.
You're watching Community Close-Up with Jay Dow.
Families on both sides of the Hudson River are now facing an onslaught of sales and marketing of recreational use marijuana. And there are no filters for our kids. They see everything and often have access to weed on the way home from school. So how do you talk to your kids about cannabis? James Ford went to the Bronx to learn how a creative and important after-school curriculum will hopefully make it easier to have those tough conversations.
Now we have social changes.
You're watching a 10th grader do what she does every week, lead a group of middle schoolers in discussions of sensitive topics.
This could also be a red flag.
Including making good choices regarding drugs, especially cannabis. This is an after-school program called JAM, or Just Ask Me, at PSIS 218. The school and the JAM program were founded by the service organization WEDCO. It has teens who'd once done the program as preteens lead sessions now.
They're actually the ones that are most at risk for these behaviors. So targeting them as the facilitators increased all of our chances of actually becoming leaders.
Nicole Jennings founded WEDCO's JAM program. Its teen leaders are living the program's purpose.
Being able to educate children into the consequences that they'll face in the future will help the next generation make sure that they're careful with what they do.
They said that within steps of the school, cannabis is just available. And we saw that firsthand. This illegal shop, with people rolling joints out front, is across the street and a few doors down.
There's also, you may not have it, but you may have a friend.
Teen peer leaders like Isaac Brito help preteens in the program make healthy decisions about marijuana use, including letting them know that most teens don't use marijuana.
I'm able to talk to another young person in a more calm, more connected type of way. It's not like it's your parent telling you to not do something, because then you're going to want to do it.
Lisandra Ortega is one of the younger people in the program.
Since they're closer to our age rather than adults, they understand.
And proof that JAM's life lessons last, she is the daughter of someone who was in Wedco's JAM program.
Back in 2002, it brings them that opportunity to speak and ask those questions without being screamed at. So it's really good. It's really positive. I really like it.
Devon Russell is the CEO of the Women's Housing and Economic Development Corporation, WEDCO for short. Devon, thanks for joining us. I want to talk to you. What was the motivation for wanting to start this program?
So JAM began in 2007 because a group of women at the time, young women, they were in the 7th grade, were concerned that there were early pregnancies, teen pregnancies around their cousins and family members and other friends. And they thought, wait a minute, why am I not learning anything about reproductive health in school? And so they advocated for the beginnings of what the city now calls their reproductive health program. And we took it upon ourselves to begin the Just Ask Me program because of what those young women wanted to do. It's grown to include the substance use because back in 2019, New York State was just on the brink of legalization, and I looked across the landscape and I knew the state of affairs in the Bronx, right? I knew that cannabis was easily accessible. I knew that kids were trying, and I thought, wait a minute, no guardrails. So now we're gonna hit the market with high potency THC because again, the THC that was making its way into New York State back in 2019 is much higher than the THC that you and I know when we were children, right? Not 4%, but in some cases 98%. And we were doing nothing, and I had heard nothing about how do we educate children about dangers, what to look for, and so on.
Did you find that kids were coming to your after-school program and talking about weed?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we did, fast forward to legalization in 2021, and we knew that we were going to add that to JAM, then we began the conversations. What we learned, there were 6th graders who were reporting, hey, the kid who sits next to me is a weed head. This is 6th grade. Right. We knew that out of the 100 and some odd 6th graders at the school, at least 12% of them were trying weed. And
I'm guessing back in the day, you know, it was a big brother or an older cousin. Now it's just right there.
Exactly.
On the street.
So what happened with legalization, again, maybe unintentionally, accessibility became, you know, even more, right? So people just knew that, you know, there's one smoke shop on the corner now, but there are going to be several later, as we're seeing is the case. And the other thing was it kind of created a permission structure, right? So weed, yeah, let's kind of all play with it because it's not dangerous, right? It was being sold to us that it's medicinal. Right. Kids are anxious and it will calm your anxiety. So the permission structure came along with the accessibility. And I knew that there was a real tipping point.
Did you get any pushback from parents?
No.
Were you surprised at that?
No.
Why?
Because I knew that parents in general with reproductive health, right, the same thing. Well, I don't want to talk to my kids about sex, someone else has to do it. And I fear that the same thing would happen with respect to this. Kids are out there experimenting. I don't really have the information that will help deter and inform, but maybe someone else will. So they were happy with what we were telling them that we were about to do.
So this after-school program is in the Bronx, but obviously parents all across our region are going to be watching this. The laws and recreational use of marijuana is for adults.
Yes.
What's the warning that you have for kids who are out there thinking about picking up something at the bodega or the corner store on the way home from school?
So the warning is you've got to understand the science and recognize that the THC, that is the psychoactive chemical in the cannabis, is not good for your growing brain. The science proves it. I mean, unequivocally, young brain, not good with THC. And so what our program aims to do is to make sure that kids are understanding the science. They're also understanding the mechanisms that bring the products to you, right? What do we know about marketing?
Right.
And we kind of studied the way cigarettes were marketed back in the day and the way vaping was marketed to young people back in the day. And that too is a part of the program. How do you say no? What are the guidelines around the choice of products that you're out there using, whether it be edibles, vaping. The science leads our conversations.
Devon, I want to continue this conversation with you on the other side of the break, so please stick around.
Sure.
We'll be right back. We're back with Devon Russell, CEO of WEDCO, a nonprofit based in the Bronx, which has created a much-needed cannabis curriculum for its after-school program. So, Devon, I want to ask you, I mean, this is an after-school program, but the kids are in class for 6 hours before they even get to you. Yep. Have you found that there's some kind of cannabis education component during the school day?
No. So what we did, we actually created in-school, school day type education. Same way we do JAM, we have pushed into 2 other schools that are our partner schools, and we are providing education during the school day because, of course, it's critical. The disappointment for us has been the fact that the Office of Cannabis Management has done nothing yet around education. We thought that they would lead this legalization, initiative with education.
But there's money allocated for that.
There's money allocated. There's supposed to be a percentage of sales set aside for education. Just about a week or so ago, an RFP was released so that you can actually seek grant funding to build programs. Not that this is not important, but that RFP targets mental health that's connected to the use of cannabis. We want to address that, but we also want to address prevention, because that's the key, especially when we're talking about 12, 13, and 14-year-old children.
The clock is ticking, so what do you think the holdup is?
I don't know. My appeal to the governor and to everyone involved, our elected officials, is let's do more. It's something that we've been talking about since 2019. We have to do more around education. We have the evidence. In all the other states that have legalized before New York State, we see the train coming. Not good for kids. Cannabis use disorder up, mental health disorder up, use among teens up.
And do you think there are lessons to be learned for parents who are in a suburban setting? I would imagine the same model applies.
Same model applies. One of the things that we do, which we love about our program, is that it's peer-led. So you have kids who are in high school talking to kids who are beginning 6th grade or 5th grade even. And that we have found to be a very successful way. You've heard the kids talk about the fact that, oh yeah, it's like I'm talking to someone who really understands where I am. And that's a model that we know works, and people should be doing it more and more across the entire country.
Devon Russell, CEO of WEDCO, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for creating this program.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it can be such a touchy subject for parents, and coming up, another important conversation, taking soldiers from the battlefield to the world of finance, a fascinating mentorship program, developing the next generation of Wall Street warriors. That's right after the break. In honor of Veterans Day and National Veteran Small Business Week, we're traveling to Long Island, where an investment banking firm founded by vets and servicing vets is helping service members manage what can be a difficult transition back to civilian life. As Anthony DiLorenzo shows us, the prize is a brand new career in finance in this, our first installment of a brand new Pix 11 series from the entire Pix 11 News team. Our community, your voice.
They're the warriors of Wall Street, military veterans achieving financial freedom after being discharged from the service.
We create that pathway for them.
Cal Quinn is a combat veteran who co-founded Bancroft Capital, a brokerage firm which in part uses veterans' battle-tested skills on the trading floor.
But they bring that commitment to excellence that they hewn and developed from their military service, and they just reapply it to their careers in institutional finance.
Quinn is constantly recruiting his next apprentice. That's how he happened to meet Ryan D'Alessandro traveling through Penn Station.
I walked off the train to walk to Citigroup's headquarters, and I hear, "You boys going to Citigroup?" I turn around, and then I turn up because my CEO is roughly 9.5 feet tall.
D'Alessandro had just been discharged from the Army after a paratrooper training accident left him with a traumatic brain injury. When college didn't work out, he was struggling to chart his next move.
I suffer from what a lot of veterans do when you first get out. I equate it to just being in the ocean on a raft and you don't have a paddle. Luckily, I found my way to Bancroft.
For the past 2 years, the ex-soldier has been in a rigorous but rewarding training program.
So it's going to be a good opportunity to circle back with a number of these people here.
The firm pairs up a financial veteran like Danny Morales with a mentee military veteran.
I never saw myself work in the finance, let alone next to another veteran.
But they get each other and the trials they've been through to get here. Shared experiences that make Bancroft's business model work. 40 people managed nearly $10 billion in transactions in September alone.
What is the earning potential of a veteran as much as they're willing to commit themselves to hard work and effort?
A built-in laser focus, Quinn believes, makes for successful bankers, traders, and analysts in larger firms.
We've placed veterans all through Wall Street.
And for Ryan, who literally hit rock bottom, now he says the sky's the limit.
It's a great program. I'm so glad that you could join us. You know, we're out in your neighborhoods and communities every day, and we realized there was an opportunity to create a show that has something for everyone. The team working on this show is constantly working to learn what matters to you. So if you've got something going on in your community that we should know about, let us know. Send us your tips to communitycloseup@pix11.com. Well, that does it for us. I'm Jay Dow. We'll see you next time on Pix 11 Community Close-Up.